Hi and welcome to this video on digital measurement using Adobe Acrobat. If you're looking to reduce paper consumption and help the environment, digital measurement is the way to go. In this video, I will show you how to take measurements using Adobe Acrobat. I will use this simple roof plan to demonstrate. Please note that the measurements shown are in metric. So if you're using the imperial system, you will need to calibrate accordingly, which I will show you shortly. To get started, refer to the list on the left hand side of the screen, then look for and click on Measure Objects. Once you do this, the sidebar then changes as shown. Go ahead and click on Measuring Tool. Once you have done this, you will notice that Measuring Tool is now highlighted and both the Measurement Toolbar and the Measurement Info panel appear. Before we can begin measuring, just like we would using a scale ruler, we need to know the scale. We can see a scale right here, that is 1 to 50 at A1 size paper. From this information, we can begin the process of calibration. With your mouse, simply right-click anywhere on the PDF drawing, which will bring up the dialog box as shown. Click on Change Scale Ratio and Precision, which will bring up another dialog box where you can calibrate. I changed my scale ratio to match that shown in the drawing, that is 1mm equals 50 millimeters, and then I will test it by carrying out a measure using the measurement shown. To check the scale, I use the measurement between grids A and B, that is the 2115. So I'll move my cursor down to grid A, I use the mouse left click button, and you'll see a red rugby post appear. I'll move my cursor along until it reaches grid B, and you'll notice that the number is roughly 743 millimeters, which represents roughly a third of the 2115. So in terms of the scale, we know that number 2115 is 3 times bigger. So we'll change the scale from 1mm equals 50 millimeters to 1mm equals 150 millimeters. Now that I've changed the scale to 1mm equals 150 millimeters, I'll go in and check that measurement again. So again, start on grid A, left click, drag along until you get to grid B, and there you'll notice that the measurement now equals 2228 millimeters. So there's still an error in the measurement. So what do we do next? We'll go back to changing the scale, but this time we'll use 1mm equals 1mm. We'll go and check the measurement again between grids A and B. We'll carry out the same procedure. Moving across to our right hand side to grid B. And it roughly is 15 mil. And what we do now is we take our drawing measurement, which was a 2115, and divide it by our actual measurement, which was 15 mil, to get a scale ratio, which as per the calculator shows 1:1. We then transfer this information to our calibration box. We'll carry out one last check again. So we'll go between grids A and B, click, move along to grid B, and as you can see, we've got a very approximate measure that we can use. So the end result is our scale is 1mm equals 141 millimeters. Now the easy part starts. In the measurement toolbar in the top right hand screen, you'll see 3 different measurement types. First one being distance tool, second one being the perimeter tool, and the third one being the area tool. So in terms of the distance tool, you've seen this in action during the calibration process, where we click on a point, in this case grid A, we move across and reaching grid B, we then click again to drop the goalposts. We can then move this up or downwards, and once we click again, it'll leave the measurements underneath so you can do a comparison. Yeah, these are approximate again, which we've already talked about. Next, we'll use the perimeter tool. So we'll just use the grids A to B again because this is a small area, and from our result we'll be able to work it out by the values there, which will use the 2115 and the 450. So we first start off by clicking, move to our next point, click again, click, click, and on our last point we double click. And then what happens is a little dialog box appears and it gives us our perimeter length, which in this case shows us 5112. And if we want to check against the perimeter, then we've got those measurements on the drawings there for us. So 2115 times 2, and then we've got a measurement close by 450 for the edges, so 2 of those equals a sum of 5130. So we're pretty close, so we know that calibration tool actually worked, and the calibration ratio of 1mm equals 141mm worked. For our less measurement using the area tool, you can see from the dimensions indicated on the drawings that the result is going to be quite big. So for example, I'll just do a practice example for you. Click, 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 click on the first point you started at, and we have a result of 1,987,395 square millimeters. So in this kind of example, we don't want to be using that. We want to be using some other easier measurement. And to do that, we can go back to the calibration box. Because I'm wanting metric measurement, I can change it, convert it into meters. So in this case, it would be 1mm equals 0.141, and I change the unit to meters. And to test it, I carry out another example. So I click, 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 and click on the point that you started off at. And there you go. That equals 2.73 square meters. So we change the scale. So if you're using imperial measurements, you can adjust the calibration dialog box to suit. And that concludes this video on digital measurement using Adobe Acrobat. I hope you've found it very useful and that you could use this tool in the future. Thanks for watching.